Imagine for a second being the most recognizable woman on the planet. Your wedding is broadcast to hundreds of millions of people, and little girls everywhere think you are living the ultimate fairy tale. But behind the heavy, closed doors of the palace, the reality is a nightmare. You are trapped in a desperately lonely marriage, and your husband is secretly in love with another woman. Behind the cameras, Diana walked into a highly calculated system of entrapment. The secret phone tapes and palace rivalries that followed eventually compromised the very foundation of the British monarchy. We all know the broad strokes from the magazine covers, but the step-by-step details hidden behind those gates are astounding. We're talking about secret phone tapes, intense palace rivalries, and shocking public affairs. The most famous fairy tale of the 20th century was actually a highly orchestrated cover-up of a devastating betrayal. Let's rewind the clock back to the late 1970s. Prince Charles was in his early 30s, and the royal establishment inside Buckingham Palace was urgently looking for a future queen. He was under massive institutional pressure to settle down. The rules for a royal bride back then were incredibly rigid. The institution demanded an aristocrat, and they required a virgin with an absolutely spotless, unblemished past. And as the courtiers bluntly put it, they needed a candidate with a face that would look good on a postage stamp. Enter Lady Diana Spencer. She was just 19 years old, an unsophisticated country girl from a noble family who spent her days working as a nanny and a kindergarten assistant in London. She was sweet, she loved children, and she had a pristine reputation. The palace pursued Diana because she perfectly checked every box on their impossible list. But there was a massive looming shadow hanging over this budding romance. Her name was Camilla Parker-Bowles. She and Charles had briefly dated in the early 70s, and even though she was now married, the two never stopped being close. In fact, Camilla actively championed the innocent young Diana as a bride for Charles. She calculated that a 19-year-old with zero life experience was so naive she wouldn't pose a threat to her own ongoing affair with the prince. The massive gap in their emotional experience was glaring right from the start. During their official engagement interview, a reporter asked the couple if they were in love. Diana, completely besotted, instantly replied, "Of course." But Prince Charles awkwardly stood there and added, "Whatever in love means." Ouch. It was a massive red flag waving right in front of the world. Yet the royal establishment entirely ignored these psychological warning signs to keep their roadshow moving forward. On July 29, 1981, Diana walked down the aisle of St. Paul's Cathedral in what was billed as the wedding of the century. But as she walked in that billowing silk gown, she looked into the congregation and locked eyes directly with Camilla. Things got significantly worse on the honeymoon. While sailing aboard the royal yacht Britannia, Diana's hopes for a romantic start were completely dashed. She made a heartbreaking discovery. Charles had packed photographs of Camilla inside his diary. To make matters worse, he was wearing a gift from his former lover, a pair of gold cufflinks engraved with two intertwined C's. She realized right then that she couldn't trust her new husband. Camilla was always going to be the third person in her marriage. On top of this massive emotional betrayal, Diana had absolutely no support system. The strict royal establishment offered her zero guidance on how to survive as a princess. Add to that a suffocating, unyielding media presence that relentlessly tracked her every single move. The stress took a severe physical toll. It was reportedly triggered when Charles put his arm around her waist and made a faint critical comment about her being a little bit chubby. That one remark helped spark a severe, ongoing battle with bulimia. The physical toll was measurable. In the 6 months leading up to her wedding, Diana's waist circumference plummeted. Her measurement dropped from 29 inches down to just 23 inches. The combination of intense public scrutiny and private emotional abuse pushed a deeply isolated young woman into suffering in total silence. The world saw a sparkling princess living a dream, but her early royal life was solitary confinement, disguised by wealth and bright smiles. This period of silent suffering became the catalyst for change. By surviving a system that offered no help, Diana began to develop the independence required to eventually step out from the palace's shadow. Her struggle to endure this trap exposed deep flaws in the royal institution. Her eventual refusal to remain silent about her treatment forced the monarchy to begin a slow, difficult transition into the modern world. When a young woman married into the British royal family in the 20th century, her primary duty remained largely unchanged from the Middle Ages. She was expected to provide an heir to the throne. Diana fulfilled this institutional requirement exactly as expected. Prince William arrived in 1982, and Prince Harry followed 2 years later. But the arrival of her children became the catalyst for her first major departure from royal tradition. She insisted on being a hands-on mother. Instead of leaving the boys with a staff of nannies while she traveled for royal tours, she simply brought them along. She actively worked to ensure her sons experienced life outside the palace gates. That meant routine trips to the cinema and treating them to burgers at McDonald's like average kids. She also wanted them to understand the harsh realities that most people faced. She would secretly take the young princes along with her to visit homeless shelters so they could see the actual world firsthand. This highly visible approach to raising her children endeared her to the public. It turned her into a global superstar and shifted what the public expected a modern royal to look like. Yet, while her public persona thrived, her life behind closed doors was quietly collapsing. The breaking point arrived shortly after the birth of her second son. From Prince Charles's perspective, he had completed his duty to the crown. He effectively checked out of the marriage and resumed an intense relationship with his former flame, Camilla Parker-Bowles. The abandonment took a severe emotional toll. Diana sank into deep loneliness and battled severe depression as she sought love and guidance from a husband who was largely absent. The resulting conflict exposed a gap in values. Diana needed genuine emotional connection, while the crown expected her to maintain a stiff upper lip, get on with the job, and endure the infidelity in complete silence. The couple found themselves trapped in an impossible situation. As two of the most heavily scrutinized figures on the planet, stuck in the broken marriage, they began living entirely separate lives. Furiously hurt by her husband's return to Camilla, Diana actively sought out the affection she was being denied at home. Her search led to a series of heavily scrutinized relationships. After an affair with a royal bodyguard who was swiftly dismissed, she entered into a passionate, fun-at-fear romance with a cavalry officer and writing instructor named James Hewitt. These relationships were proxy battles fighting back against the emotional vacuum of her marriage, setting a precarious precedent for an institution built on stability. The situation spiraled out of control when the private messiness of the royals finally breached the palace walls and fell directly into the hands of the British tabloids. The first major scandal, dubbed Squidgygate by the press, involved a leaked private tape where Diana was caught bitterly complaining about her royal life to a close friend. But that leak was minor compared to the bombshell that dropped in January 1993, a scandal quickly labeled Camillagate. This deeply intimate recording captured a private phone call between Charles and Camilla, exposing details of their affair that the public had only previously guessed at. Diana reportedly relished the moment. She sat at the breakfast table reading the transcripts, laughing out loud at how foolish her husband looked to the entire world. These leaks changed the dynamic between the family and the press. The monarchy could no longer hide behind coordinated press releases because the royals' own recorded words stripped away the curated mystique the institution spent decades building. With the leaks in the public domain, the old rules of royal silence no longer applied. Diana saw an opportunity to turn the press into an ally. She shifted into active public relations warfare. She purposefully planted negative stories about Camilla with journalists to win the battle of public opinion. She escalated the conflict by bypassing the palace entirely to secretly cooperate with author Andrew Morton on a tell-all biography. The book served a specific purpose: to dismantle the fairy tale illusion that the royal institution relied upon to maintain its standing. During a foreign tour, she staged a photograph of herself sitting completely alone in front of the Taj Mahal monument, sending a clear visual message to the globe that she was an abandoned wife. Diana's approach to motherhood and her refusal to follow the script of the silent wife left a permanent mark on the institution. She had shown that the truth of a single woman could compete with, and often overshadow, the most powerful PR machine in the world. For centuries, the British monarchy maintained its authority through a strict doctrine of the stiff upper lip. Power was projected through distance, emotional neutrality, and an absolute refusal to let the public see the human beings beneath the crowns. Within this system, royal wives were expected to play a very specific role. They were the silent partners,
required to smile for the cameras and absorb any personal suffering or marital hardship entirely behind closed doors. But in 1994, Prince Charles shattered that protocol. He sat down for a national television interview and openly admitted that his marriage had broken down, confessing to a public audience that he had been unfaithful with Camilla Parker-Bowles. The palace was suddenly caught in a strategic vacuum. The institution simply expected Princess Diana to endure this televised humiliation quietly, because they had no playbook for handling a live, modern media scandal. Instead of retreating into silence, Diana seized the narrative. She realized her massive, deeply personal connection with the public was a completely different kind of power, one she could wield directly against the institution itself. Her immediate counterstrike happened within hours. On the exact same night her husband broadcast his infidelity to the nation, Diana stepped out to a public gala. She wore a stunning, low-cut, form-fitting black gown that instantly went down in history as the revenge dress. By projecting absolute, unbothered glamour, she dominated the front pages the next morning, completely overshadowing his confession. Late the following year, she took the offensive again. Bypassing royal handlers entirely, she sat down for a highly secretive, explosive interview with the BBC's Panorama program. Speaking directly to the public, she admitted to her own affair with James Hewitt and dropped the now legendary line regarding Camilla: "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." She even went so far as to question whether Charles was psychologically fit to be king. This aggressive public maneuver crossed a final line for the Queen, who immediately wrote to the couple and ordered them to get a divorce. Diana had taken the one thing the royal family feared most, raw vulnerability, and used it to drag an ancient institution into a modern media war they had no idea how to fight. With the divorce finalized in 1996, Diana lost her Royal Highness title, but she gained total freedom from the constraints of the royal machine. She quickly shed her old identity, auctioning off her famous royal dresses in New York to raise millions for charity, and stepping fully into the role of a global humanitarian. Royalty historically observed the public from a safe distance. Diana closed the gap entirely. She leveraged her immense fame to shatter brutal global stigmas by physically embracing AIDS patients and touching those suffering from leprosy. She took this physical courage to its extreme in 1997, deliberately walking through an active minefield in Angola to campaign against landmines. This radical physical empathy stood in stark contrast to the untouchable, rigid image the monarchy had cultivated for centuries. By holding the hands of the sick and the marginalized, she proved that genuine human connection was vastly more powerful than inherited tradition. But her mastery of the media also made her its ultimate target. By the summer of 1997, the paparazzi pursuit had mutated into an aggressive, relentless global hunt. After beginning a romance with Dodi Fayed, the couple arrived in Paris at the end of August, hounded at every turn by an uncontrollable pack of photographers. On the night of August 31st, trying to escape the cameras waiting outside the Ritz Hotel, they slipped out a back entrance. Their car, driven by the hotel's deputy head of security, sped away into the city. The pursuit ended violently inside the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Dodi and the driver were killed outright, and Diana died from her severe injuries shortly after. She was only 36 years old. A woman given the name of the ancient goddess of the hunt had become the most hunted person of the modern age. The world stopped. An estimated 100 million people mourned a princess they felt they knew intimately. The royal establishment initially reacted to her death with their customary stoic silence. The resulting public backlash was so severe that the institution realized they could no longer hide behind emotional distance if they wanted to survive. Her influence lives on clearly in her sons. Prince William carries her humanitarian focus forward, actively championing causes like mental health awareness, and Prince Harry has spoken openly about his own emotional struggles, ensuring her warmth and compassion remains a permanent fixture of the royal identity. Diana broke the mold of the British monarchy. By stripping away the formality and reaching out her hand, she proved that empathy is far more vital to a modern crown than any title.